Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and today guests are two professors. One is Ken Regan. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Much for having me on. Yeah, Happy New Year again.
Okay,
We
great.
decorated our tree, but haven't taken it down yet.
Okay, and of course, Professor Dan Fleetwood. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Hi, Sasha. Hi, Ken. We're having Buffalo and Toronto weather in Nashville today, so thank you for loaning it to us.
Yeah.
Yes, we do not have snow cover now, so you are ahead.
Okay, so we are still following this recent tournament, just completed finally, and of course, who was the first? This was one tournament when there were
Right.
two people first.
Yeah.
Does it mean that there are also two people second, or only two people first? How you qualify it?
Well, the Olympic rule is that when you share a gold, you don't share silver, and the next person gets bronze. So,
I see. Two golds, no silver, and so on. Actually, there was no bronze either. There was actually two bronze medals, right? Because there was no match for
there's
the
no playoffs. Yes.
no playoffs.
And
Okay.
there's no precedent for that too. Such
Yes.
as in boxing. Yeah.
Well, there will be even more precedents now after this tournament.
Yeah.
So
Whether
there-
chess is as strenuous as boxing, that may be the question that was behind all this.
Mhm. Yeah. I still kind of disagree with this agreement between Carlsen and Nepomniachtchi to share first place. This is it's, in my opinion, it's mind-boggling and something like I follow soccer, for example, and if you have a soccer match, let's say England Cup, and then in the final you have two teams, and they made up, let's say, a draw in playing time, and then there was additional time. There was nothing happened, and there are now penalty kicks. And after first 5 penalty kicks, and both sides scored, or both sides failed to score. It doesn't matter. The result is identical. And instead of continue as the rules to continue to have this penalty kicks until one time one side will score, all of a sudden both sides say, you know what, do we really need it? Why don't we declare ourselves as the co-champions or co-cup winners? And that's well, it doesn't matter if there are 90,000 people are watching and a billion people all over the world are following that on TV. It doesn't matter. We are both sort of happy. Okay, let's shake hands and referees, and so everybody is happy, and let's walk away and celebrate. You can't even think about such an outcome. It's impossible even to think about it. However, chess is a different sport. It's a different activity. It's something on the borderline, as it used to be said, of sport, science, and the sports science, and what else? Something else was there. Now I forgot.
Psychology.
And not psychology, science, sport, and
Art.
Yeah, art.
art. Yeah, I don't see much art in this recent tournaments. Science, it's more computer science, especially I would say it's probably competition in the memory, in a better memory, who better memorized all computer lines. If in a nutshell, I don't know, you can expand on it and say, no, it's not only that, there's something else. There's perhaps. And the game, the sport, yes. And I think if before it would be considered only 1/3 of the process, today I would estimate it's 98% of the process, because all the other are not that important, at least based on the what we see really happening. However, Ken, do you prepare to look
Yes.
at the team?
So as fate would have it, we do have a, you could style as a decider game exactly 1 week later. So in the title Tuesday late that was played this past Tuesday, Carlsen and Nepo faced off in the last round. They were paired on board 2. They were possibly playing for first place had Grigori Opari not won to win it by himself a half point ahead of Carlsen. But so as far as they knew, it was a first place matchup potential for Title Tuesday. Carlsen had black, and let me share the result. And as far as art goes, the question is whether there is art in conning someone out of a knight, laying trap for it. So anyway, here we go. Now, these, by the way, are chess.com ratings. And in blitzes reflected in chess.com ratings, Nepo is more than 100-point underdog. Okay. This also is 3-minute blitz with 1 second, not 2 second increment. So the pace is.
Ken, for some perspective here, how many days after Magnus's marriage was this played?
Oh, that's a good question. It was played. That's a good point. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Played 3 days after Magnus's. So I guess this was part of his honeymoon.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see the excitement.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. There is a cartoon that I saw on Twitter. Definitely not safe for work cartoon. That has a romantic couple, and she says, tie me up. You can do anything you want. And he ties her up and then goes and plays online chess.
Here we are.
Here we are. So, okay. So anyway, so Carlsen plays, the robot. It's not. It'll be the rat if black plays c6, but it's not. Instead, Carlsen plays a6, which might be even rattier. Who knows?
So once upon a time, before engines got super strong, this was popular in correspondence chess. So, for example, 13th world champion Umansky liked playing this as black. So this is quite respectable, both for blitz and correspondence, at least until engines. Now it's possible that this is either on the edge of being lost for black, or it may be possible to hold with perfect play. But in blitz, it should be quite entertaining.
Yes. Now, just speaking naively, what's the point of a6? I mean, b5 does happen in this game at a key point, but I don't see b5 happening imminently. Is it going to, or is it?
Yeah, but you remember a game many years ago, a tournament game, classical chess. Grandmaster Miles play a6 on the first move against Karpov.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're trying to find merits of move a6, think about this game.
Yes, I guess so. And
yes, I think the chief reason that this was quite popular for a while was just to get away from kind of like the known book positions and force white to declare whether he's going to play queen d2 and castle queenside, or or play an f, or to tempt white into playing an f4 line, which at one point I think was considered to be the best response. But at any rate, anything can happen here.
That's what I would play. Anything can happen. Yep, well, it does.
I think philosophy of the move a6 is that after e4, first move of white, all the major vulnerability of white's position is exactly pawn on e4, because it could be attacked by several sources. And in fact, a6 prepares b5 and b4 attack on natural defender of b4, knight c3. So white would have to prevent it either by playing a4 or maybe h3 after b5 and so on. So there is some strategic consideration of this.
Right. I mean, the natural thing is yeah, the natural thing is for white to play like queen d2, f3, and castle queenside. But in that case, a6 is preparatory toward a pawn storm. So there's a lot of logic.
And white
Knight
has
f3
played
is a
knight
move
f3.
that I really dislike in this position, but Niepo is a whole lot stronger than I am, so I'm sure he has something useful in mind.
Yeah, knight f3 does not protect e4. But look at the engine's top line. The engine wants black to play b5 and then wants white to counter with h4. Alpha 0 move. Black plays a knight f6, stopping h5, and white plays h5 anyway. Black takes it, and then white plays knight g5 instead of something else, and then e5. And suddenly by this, it looks like white is trying to storm black, but white center could also disappear. So this is,
I like this for black anyway.
Yeah.
No, but there is a threat of queen f3 attacking f7 and a8.
Yeah, so black plays bishop b7. Yeah. So the engine has actually decided it doesn't like this quite as much as it did coming in. So
the engine's going to go way back and forth on this, depending on whether that exchange sack on h5 is sound, and that's a crazy game, perfect for blitz.
Yeah. Anyway, Carlsen played more circumspectly, and so did Nepo. So now knight c6. That's another move that I would never make in this position. I always reserve the ability for the c pawn to come forward. The knight on c6 just looks like it's striking empty air. What is it doing? Well, maybe it's the fact that it puts a little pressure against d4 inhibits the move that Nepo played a little bit. Nepo played this anyway. And also interesting to me, I mean, if I'm not worried about getting checkmated, castling is automatic here. As if white takes, you take with the king and you're controlling h6. But white would probably just play h4, h5, and as Bobby Fischer famously said about this corresponding line of the dragon, it's sack, sack, mate. But we instead do this, and we draw white's queen away from d4. And now we are attacking d4, except the engine thinks that white should punish back by playing d5. This might be a little bit too much largesse. Although black is not behind in development now, so I don't know how much punishment you can give. Anyway, white did the other natural move, which is to support d4 and castle kingside at the same time. Carlsen captured. And then e6. Again, the engine says time to play d5. And take over squares, but instead white plays e5, which I must say looks very strong, because this is rather abject for black. White should be able to defend e5 with f4, but anyway, white goes knight e4. Look at this, beautiful squares, and now f4. So it turns out after all this that the engine says black is better. So, I mean...
Yeah, sure.
I mean...
Once again, a position that favors the stronger player, and in this case, both sides are the stronger player, with Magnus, of course, being the strongest of the stronger.
Yeah. So, castle queen side. I mean, this still does not look bad for white. You got this beautiful diagonal, knight on e4, best piece on the board. You have to reroute the queen, but the queen can reroute via h3. And it's around here that Carlsen has some interesting tickling moves, including one he didn't play. So knight d4, there is a square for black in this position. And also white's a3, which was trying to keep black's queen from becoming active, does now mean that if white plays c3, black can nestle something on b3. So I plays king to b1, so Warren checks in the position. Okay, now the queen got evicted from h6, so that's okay. It should reroute via h3 anyway. And now here's where the black's best move is a really funny point, according to the engine. This is just to discombobulate white a little, to throw white, make white's queen not be able to go. So bishop f3 doesn't seem that much point to it. Knight f6 actually is also striking empty air. And if you play rook e1, which to my mind would be the most natural move in this position, then actually black takes over the initiative by trading rooks, taking the bishop, and playing rook d8. So it's an interesting way of that Carlsen could have played, but Carlsen played the natural knight d5, and now the game is again equal. So knight h4 now would allow white to uncoil. Instead, c6, another move that I thought was hideous in the long run, and indeed the engine wants white to play bishop h3 in order to capture and sink the knight on d6. But that's not the way Nepo played. Instead, Nepo played to put the knight on c5. So queen c4, there we go. And this is stepping into the trap. King b8, knight c5. All right, maybe we're going to sack. I don't know. It's blitz chess. Carlsen is down to 30 seconds. Nepo is almost a full minute advantage. And the game is even. So I thought advantage Nepo. Okay. But black played king h7, and the point of king h7 is defending a6, so that you can advance the c pawn and advance the b pawn. And Nepo completely overlooked what Carlsen was doing, and
There
thought,
is a knight 4 at some point. Is that?
what's
No.
that? Yeah.
Sakafa taken f4 pawn and then on c5.
Oh, that's true. So black could have done that. Yeah, let's see what would have happened if black had done this.
No, now there is move knight h6. It doesn't work.
Yeah, bishop h6. Yep.
But
However,
after a7, I think after a4, that would be playable.
yes. Well, after a4, however, though, black is something that is much better.
Okay.
Knight takes f4. Is knight takes f4 playable? Well, I don't know. However, b5 is playable. And at this point, Nepo realizes that he cannot defend the knight on c5.
Wow.
So,
Oh my God.
Really incredible. That's like,
yeah.
bolt from the blue type of thing.
Yeah. I don't know if we could hear you quite, but yeah, it is really incredible. It's right.
Yeah, it's a winning move. The game is over.
Game is over, and we just played because this is blitz chess.
Sure.
Black actually has the piece and the compensation and the attack. So here we go. We start attacking white, and
Massacre.
and Nepo game.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah, we are. So the eighth game of their blitz match, so to speak. Anyway, so do you have other things in other tournaments you wish to talk about? There's another personal development in the world of chess.
Well, I'm following everything, and was very interesting. A couple of days ago was qualifying a tournament for upcoming. It's a random Fischer chess tournament. There were extremely strong tournament with Nepo playing in and many other strong players. And you know who first was? Fedoseev. He was so now he will join 9 top players, including Carlsen and many others, but it will be in February only, so unfortunately we have to wait for this. This Fischer random is, I think it's much more tactical game than normal chess, because there are already on second moves, there are incredible tactical complications arise. There are some positions where certain points in the positions are vulnerable right from the first move, and sometimes one little mistake can lead to collapse in a few moves.
Right.
So that's it really depends a lot on the starting position. There are some starting positions that remind classical chess, or at least they don't have so much tactical element on the first few moves. But there are some other positions that almost lethal. One small mistake can lead to complete collapse of the position. So it's quite interesting to watch. I really like watching this game.
There are positions that are difficult to play for black, that might be plus 0.5 out of the opening, but the players don't seem to mind because they are challenging, and you're just as likely to have white as black in those positions. So
Also, Grandmaster don't value playing white as a great advantage. They almost agree to play with any color. Sorry, Dan, I interrupted you. What did you say?
we can't hear you. Whoops. Yeah, we can't hear you, unfortunately. Your mic faded out. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was not so good before, but now we can't hear him at all. Hello, Dan?
Yeah, I'm still here. Could you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's clear. Yes.
Yeah, I think that the internet has kind of been going in and out. I was just saying that the players who mind playing those kinds of positions just don't play freestyle or chess 960. I'm one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well-known grandmasters who avoid totally playing a 960.
Right.
Are there? Ken, are you aware of the?
I'm not aware of that. The thing I think on previous shows I've plumped for my own baseline chess with Fischer rules, combining Bronstein and Fischer's ideas, where you get to place your pieces one by one, with white going first, king between the rooks, bishops opposite colors, and the Fischer castling rule. So.
You know, I try to play blitz games, 5 minutes each, no increments, with Nava, my wife, the Bronstein style of chess. So we have only pawns on both sides,
right.
And the game starts that you set up your pieces one by one, and they don't have to be symmetrical. You can put your king on C1, and black can put his king on H8, for example, and then you put your queen somewhere else or so. It's way too complicated. By the time that you finish setup, you spend half of your time, and there's no time really to. So maybe we should increase instead of 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something. But it's extremely complicated variant of chess. I guess it's not popular simply because there is no way how the chess engine can interpret the empty board with only pawns on it, and how you can even notify the move, first five move, king C1, right? Then black first move, king H8, then queen on B1, for example, something like this, and then you continue to a normal Fischer random chess, except it's not symmetrical and no castles are allowed. So you can put rooks anywhere you want and so on.
The one discussion that took place was about whether it was always, people would always place the bishops in the corners. And engines actually say no. So that the development via C4 or F4 is actually most active. So that's the one worry, though, is that if you, well, you have to put the king between the rooks, but otherwise the bishops in the corners and play rooks to the center, and maybe the game will trade down to a draw. But it just hasn't been tested enough. But yeah, it has more variations than chess 960 because it does not have to be symmetric.
You know, I like also Kramnik's proposed variant of chess, when it's normal chess except that there is no castle, neither long or side or king side. I see some philosophical justification of it is that castle made chess somewhat faster. So in a medieval times or so on, the game was too slow, so the castle would some kind of increase the intensity of the game. But lately, there are being developed a class of positions when castle is detrimental actually to your interest. That it's better not to castle at all. There are now several games I'm watching in Italian or two nice defense when black purposely delays the castle, waiting for white to castle on the king's side, and then they unleash attack h6, g5. So they delay castle. So in this case, the Kramnik's variant doesn't sound to be too stupid.
So yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, no castle chess. Yeah. or castle queenside only? Oh,
No, do artificial castle or castle by hand, how you call it. Yeah, if you want a castle, maybe you shouldn't even. Maybe why not allow white to demonstrate the problems without with delaying castle and unleash a tremendous attack if they can.
yeah.
But it would be interesting to see. That would make the game even lovelier and more interesting.
Yeah.
So, any upcoming
Yep.
tournaments?
Yeah, I guess things will get underway again this week.
I guess it's a major tournament that's upcoming.
There's European Blitz going on now, I think.
Yeah.
The other news in the chess world this week is the passing of Robert Hübner.
Yeah.
And I could show. I've put a tab for this very nice tribute at chess.com. It's the one tribute I found that has several of his games, and the game with Miguel Najdorf that he won in 1971, very early in his career, is just interesting for the stolid strategy, playing the Hübner way in the Nimzo Indian. So here we go. We're going to deliberately, without being provoked, double the pawns and then establish a black square blockade.
That was Fischer was playing against Spassky, this variation.
Exactly. And this game may very well have influenced Fischer against Spassky. So I think that's also the historical significance of this game. Now the knight goes to e7, not to a5. So Hübner is going to play on all parts of the board, be a little more subtle, and and h6, for instance, not castling. And here we go, g5. So exactly what you just said about about this kind of attack. And now we'll play on that side of the board and put pressure. And now we'll play other pieces to the end, and white castles, and now black castles queenside. Okay, so I'm not doing this with engine eval, so I don't know if black is nominally better already. Anyway, we're going to shore up our position on the queen side first. White really cannot get pieces, any pieces into the attack. White's bishop on c1, even though it's, quote, the good bishop with the pawn structure, is actually completely walled in. There is no path it can take to influence things on the queen side. Whereas black's bishop can play on both sides of the board. Black's bishop can come to a4 if it wants to. It can also come to the aid of black's king right away. And the bishop actually is threatening eventually to appear on a6 and start pressuring white's weak point on c4. White's pawn on c4 is guarded 3 times and attacked 0 times, but that's not how things are going to shake out. The other thing, black has a pawn break, and see, here's the problem. White's pawn break f4 leaves weak squares in its wake, especially e5. White is not set up to exploit an opening of the e file. In fact, white's king is on the e file. But black's break, f5, that white now stops, would have created a weakness on e4, but with black having g4, black would have more ancillary play around it. Plus, black's king is not in that sphere. Okay, so instead, white got a strong e4 square this way, but white is not going to be able to use it, especially since white does not have a knight anymore. White can use it with the pawn. Now, this is so we're going to exert little bits of pressure from another point. So what's wild about this game is black doesn't create any decisive threats. Black is just maximizing placement of the pieces in order to generate potential energy. There we go. Now we forced white to play a5, so that's a weakness. We can now take aim at it. Let's see. Now the rook's okay. Now black is supported and able to play b6 because white's rook on f2 cannot easily come to the b file. So the fact that black has two rooks that can come into play via b7 is actually a stronger feature in this position. So here we go. Okay. White gets off the b file. Now, queen a8, another h8, another creeping move, but white's queen is on a3. Okay, we're going to penetrate on the king side. And oops, let's also block a4 as an option. Here comes the penetration. Okay, so now we play on this side of the board, and by the way, rook b2 was a great threat. And now we see how discombobulated white actually is. The only thing that keeps white alive after rook b2 is the ability to play bishop c2. But black does not have to be in any hurry at all. Let's create the potential energy of possibly swinging the rook back over to the king side. Otherwise, I don't see any point of bishop e8. It's just a nice square where nothing's in the way. So white opposes the rook to prevent it coming over. And so now, maybe white, it seems, has weathered the worst. But now Hubner has evaluated this ending. And black has an extra a pawn. Is it enough to win? Well, let's play chess. Okay. We're going to just try and play chess with the fact that black's pieces are individually better than white's pieces. And this is where black is finally able to cash in, although with bishop opposite colors. So let's see now if there was any way on the past move that white could possibly have defended this. So bishop a6, it's attacking c4 twice. Now white cannot guard it, and this pin on the f1 a6 diagonal cannot be countered, and white does not have a pawn on e4 that could guard d5. So here we go. We've won a pawn. And in fact, in this position, Najdorf gave up because the bishop opposite colors game is absolutely winning. All of white's pawns on the king side will fall.
I have a friend who is playing in, his rating is 2250 something, and he's playing black Nimzo Indian defense. He's taking on c3 on a fourth move without even waiting for h3 or anything. He believes so much in the structural position advantage with this double pawn on c5 for white. So he enjoys playing this position, even supposedly losing important opening tempo. So he's playing knight f6, e6, bishop b4, and regardless whatever white does, he's taken on c3. Except that if white would play, for example, e3, so he doesn't want to wait for knight e2 possibility. He's just taking on c3 right away. And he has pretty good results in this way. I don't recall any grandmasters are playing. Actually, Nimzo Indian is not very popular opening these days.
Right.
But it was 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was probably the most popular opening, not anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what line has retired it, whether the line where white surprisingly gets play against black c5 just by playing slow. I forget the queen c2 and black plays c5 and white doesn't react too strongly and just gets an advantage. I'm not sure which line.
I think you're right. Queen c2, I think, became quite popular. But we are walking back to matches of Karpov against Kasparov when Nimzo Indian was quite popular at that time. But anyway, we are waiting for Wei Kanze. I think this is the premier tournament that is upcoming, and it's probably the longest traditionally run classical tournament in the world. Well, we'll enjoy it, and in the meantime, thank you very much for today's program, and we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Have a great weekend.
Enjoy the weeks before classes. Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.